This is Rob Temple for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined for the first time in a socially distant setting by Shane McGUIGAN. We're here at Faversham. Very lovely day today. How are you, Shane?
Good, thanks, mate. Yeah, nice day. You must have come at the right time. Yeah, we're down here at Creekside Amateur Boxing Gym. We were at the university, but obviously with COVID and stuff like that, you know, we've had to abide by their rules, and their first point of call is the students. So I don't think they're going to be until about August, September. So I've sort of made a few calls and came back to where I had my first ever sparring session many moons ago.
How did that sparring session go?
Got bladdered, mate. Yeah, I thought I was hitting the pads. I thought I was going to get some success, but yeah, I remember sitting outside in the car park, look, shit just down there, and like shit on my pants, thinking, what's this going to feel like? And it was so cold. And that gym gets really hot in the summer, but in the winter it's freezing. And just the sting of the punches of leather, I was like, it was a weird experience, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good to be back now. Have you missed boxing?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Yeah, good to be. I mean, it's not really back yet, but you know, obviously we haven't had any sparring yet, and we've got confirmation of fights, but they've been moving here and there, and they're getting pushed back a week and then another week. So obviously we have to abide by the government's rules and the promoters, you know, Matchroom and stuff like that. They're doing their best to get the shows on straight away. And with that being said, I think on the 8th of August we're looking to get Fowler and CBS out. So on one of the fight camps. When it comes down to Luke and stuff, I'm not quite sure when he's going to, yeah, because that sort of standard of boxing is going to need a crowd, and yeah, I don't know quite when he's going to be ready to box, but I think we've got kind of some ideas, but everything's changing weekly, isn't it? So it's still a bit of a disheartening situation, but you know, we're just doing our best to get back into the gym. And yes, it's nice. It's enjoyable. It's good to be around the lads again and feel like, you know, you're creating something and enjoying the process again.
Now you mentioned, obviously, it's kind of this grey area that we're in where things are starting to come open. But you mentioned sparring, and now we've spoken in the past about how you like to base your camps around sparring, and it's a big part of how you prepare a fighter for a fight. Yeah. The fact that there is no sparring, the fact that things are moving so quickly and are uncertain, how does that affect your role?
Yeah, it affects my role, but it affects everybody's role. Every trainer, every boxer that's going in there. You know, some fighters don't need a lot of sparring, other fighters do. They need to grind themselves into shape. Need to spar a lot of rounds to get their weight down and get their timing in, but you know, like luckily a lot of my boxers have been very sensible in this lockdown period, and they've all come back into camp quite relatively fit. Yeah, obviously punching conditioning is going to be a bit off. You know, you spend months to sort of building that up slowly. But so that's, you know, with 3 months off, that's been quite a long layoff. But yeah, I just think when it comes to the sparring, you know, everyone's going to be in the same boat, and it's going to be on kind of an even playing field, really. But as I mentioned, some people are bigger for the weight, and those guys probably need to do a lot more rounds. And when that's the case, then they might suffer. But yeah, everyone's been quite disciplined.
Now, before we come on to Chris BILLAM-SMITH and Anthony Fowler, who, as you mentioned, are going to be going on one of the fight camp cards, we're just waiting for full confirmation of those. Yeah. You, of course, had two fighters who were primed and ready for world title fights, in Luke Campbell and Lawrence Okolie. Not ideal timing for anybody, coronavirus, but certainly for fighters on the verge of world title fights. How has it been for both of those guys, kind of being so close yet so far?
Very, very, very frustrating. Not so much for Lawrence, because he's at the start of his career almost, and sorry, Titans in the background panting away. It's a hot day for him. Yeah, you know, it's not so bad for Lawrence. I mean, you know, he did. I think he boxed on the 26th of October, so that was the last time he boxed. So you know, he did need to get out, but you know, it does favour a young man to sort of be, you know, as it were, like, you know, have this sort of setback. Whereas Luke kind of got a good gift almost, because Haney had the shoulder injury, and then, you know, we got ordered to fight for the vacant title, but that took a long time, you know. Samson Liakovic and Eddie Hearn, and it took a long time to strike that deal up, and I was quite disheartened because I felt like we could have got it in March. You know, we were ready to go end of February, March sort of time. So yeah, it was annoying that we didn't get it in then. We didn't get it in beforehand, but you know, you got to understand the process. You got to understand promoters, and they've got a lot of stuff to sort out. And yeah, I mean, we were scheduled to box in April, and we just didn't. You know, we got that setback, and it's been very annoying since the WBC have then reinstated Haney, and now we're boxing for the interim title, and it's just it's a bit of a gutter. But you know, Luke, we can't cry wolf too much because you know we did get a chance to box for all 3 belts against Lomachenko, but yeah, it is what it is. You know, we'll rebuild and go again, and yeah, Lawrence as well. Lawrence was going to wait to the AJ card, but now he'll probably wait to box in the AJ card again, and that's still kind of up in the air. But I think it's looking like October, November sort of time. So he's still a long way away.
With regards to Luke Campbell, obviously you've just mentioned the fact that Devin Haney was reinstated as WBC champion. The last time I spoke to Luke Campbell, well, apart from today of course, we were still kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with regards to that. That decision has been made. Is the plan, as it stands at the minute, for him to still box Javier Fortuna for the interim title?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, the thing is that you got to understand for us is like, Luke has been... He waited a long time to get himself into that position for the. He boxed Ivan Mende. He sat there waiting a long time to box Mikey Garcia. We thought Garcia was going up to welterweight. He was going to vacate the belt. He didn't. He only vacated it after the Errol Spence fight. So that took a long process in itself. And then there was going to be this box off sort of for the interim belt, or you know, and then potentially for the there was Haney. But he wasn't first in line. There was Zor Abdullaev. Luke was number 1. There was Zor Abdullaev number 2. Then there was Haney. Then there was Fortuna, and one other, I think. Huh?
Lopez.
I think he was down the IBF, wasn't he? But anyway, but yeah, I mean, yeah, he could have been. I think he was in the mix, but yeah, he was higher ranked in the IBF, so he took that shot anyway. So yeah, for us, it was, you know, we were sitting there waiting a long time, expecting to get Zor Abdullaev for the interim belt that potentially could have got elevated to a world title, but you know, we didn't. We got Lomachenko sprung out of nowhere, which they've never done before. They've never made a world champion of 2 other governing bodies a mandatory challenger for a vacant belt. That's unheard of. But obviously the gravitas and the attention that he's going to bring towards that belt, because he is a pound for pound star, was good business for them. But we kind of felt a bit begrudged because we'd waited so long. Yeah, look, don't get us wrong. I mean, Luke made good money and he put up a good show, but that was on the 31st of August. It was a long time ago, nearly a year. You know, he's going to be out of the ring for over a year now. And in December we had a fight scheduled in late December to sort of get him back, and we pulled that because the WBC ordered that fight against Fortuna for the vacant belt. So we will now go and box Fortuna because I think it's a good fight for Luke at this stage of his career. He's a former world champion. It's for the interim belt, and you know, it's a much harder fight than Devin Haney's ever had in his whole entire career, who's now getting reinstated as champion and elevated to champion. It makes me annoyed because of, you know, this game's about, you know, it's about what you can draw towards the sort of belt. And you know, Haney's got a lot of Instagram followers and he makes a lot of noise. He's got Mayweather behind him and stuff, but he hasn't done anything in the game. He really hasn't. I know he's a good talent. I'm not disrespecting him and disregarding what who he is. I just don't think he's done anything to merit the position that he's in. And it's very, very frustrating for us that you know, Luke has boxed Linares. That had been in the UK show, would have potentially got the nod on that. You know, and he, you know, rebuilt himself, and we waited all that time to get put in there with Lomachenko, and now we're waiting another year to fight for a vacant belt, and now it's going to be for the interim belt. But we'll stay with this governing body and we'll go with it, and we'll try and beat Fortuna, which I think he is going to beat him. And then either box Haney for the title, or or see what other businesses are out there. There's a lot of big names. There's Javante Davies, who's a huge superstar in the States. You got Lopez, but I don't think he's going to be around for long. He's going to be flying up afterwards. But you've got Ryan Garcia, who's a huge name. You've got Linares out there as well, who's former 3-weight world champion, and he's got the nod over Luke. Luke wants to avenge that defeat. So there's some great potential fights out there, and Luke is fresh, and he's still really, really in his athletic prime. But I just want to make sure that we maximise what we've got with him, because he's a fucking brilliant fighter. He is a brilliant fighter. I've worked with a lot of top fighters, and he is definitely up there, and he really hasn't shown his true potential yet. And I just want to be able to fulfil his dreams in him becoming a world champion, and also get him the attention that he deserves, because he's had a couple of not unfair shakes, but it's the timing, and he didn't get lucky in the amateurs, but he got so much success in the amateurs, and he hasn't quite had that success in the pros, and it's not because of his skill or his ability, it's more because of timing and just the way it falls and works. And this COVID's been a bit of a kick in the nuts for him as well.
I spoke to Luke earlier, and I suggested the possibility, obviously we don't know what's going on with COVID, but is there a possibility that he could take an interim fight, potentially in Eddie's back garden or somewhere like that, for a fight camp?
I mean, I don't want to devalue him, because I'm looking after him, and if he fights for a little tick over, what does it really do for him? I mean, he doesn't need it to get sharp. He wants the big names, and you don't see the big time boxers going out there and doing 8-rounders, 10-rounders and stuff. I know it has its place in the sense that he hasn't boxed in a while, but he doesn't need to mess about. He needs to get these fights out of the way, and if we have to get the Fortuna out of the way, which is what it's looking like, then we get him out of the way. And if we have to take a tiny bit less money because there's no crowd, I know Luke will do it, because he's benefited a lot in his last fight against Lomachenko. And he's clever with his money and stuff. He's sensible. So it's about opportunities. It's about not being short-sighted and saying, okay, great, we're just going to go out to America and take the Devin Haney fight because it's offered to us. And do you know what I mean? Like, we could take the Devin Haney fight. I know we could, but I want him to. If we go to the States and box in Haney's backyard, and you got Mauricio Stillman hanging around Floyd Mayweather and all these guys, rubbing shoulders and stuff. We're not stupid. We understand how boxing works, and it's close rounds that's going the other way. He's travelled to America to box Linares before, and we're just not going to do it. We want to have the advantage on our side, and I think with Eddie Hearn, he's been good to Luke. He's done a lot with Luke, but Luke's done a lot for him too, and I think that's a relationship that's worked well. So they need to continue to look after one another. We don't want to be chucked out, and I know DAZN and Matchroom USA have invested a lot of money in Devin Haney, but they've we ain't taking no pay cuts to go out and box him for a world title. There's no point. You know what I mean? We'll wait our time, and we'll box him when the time's right.
There's obviously some quite distinct differences between them, but is there some similarities between George Groves and Luke Campbell, particularly the situation that you find yourself in with them?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, there's many fighters that have gone to world level, and like someone like Billy Joe Saunders, he's a 2-weight world champion, but he hasn't boxed massive names. George has boxed Badu Jack, Froch twice. He's boxed some big names. He's boxed Callum Smith, Eubank and stuff like that. He's DeGale. He's had some massive fights, and there is ways, and that's not saying that Billy Joe doesn't deserve to be a 2-weight world champion. It's just saying, it's just about timing. It's just about where those governing bodies are, and and how it all works, and who's your mandatory, and where you are in the rankings, and that's just the luck of the draw. It's just where they put you in. You know what I mean? And at that month you filter into it, and you potentially get that opportunity. Ricky Burns is the 3-weight world champion. He boxed a lot of people, but when he won his world title, his last one, I mean, I don't even know who that guy's name was. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and Linares is a very good fighter, and Lomachenko is a phenomenal fighter. You know what I mean? And Luke's actually boxed people like Eugenis Mendez, good fighter, Darlis Perez. He's boxed some good names as well, and he just needs to sort of he needs a bit of luck on his side. Do you know what I mean? And I think if we keep playing our cards right, and if we keep training hard and keep our head down, then and keep getting better. The good thing about Luke is that he gets in the gym every day, and he wants to improve himself. He hasn't stopped coming in and thinking, I'll take the big fights. I'll go out and box whoever on their show, and doesn't matter if I win or don't win, I'm still getting well paid. He's not got that mindset. He's got the mindset like, okay, I want to win a world title, and then I want another crack at Lomachenko, and then I want, he's thinking really, really positively. So, and I know that in the next couple of years he's going to do big things. You know what I mean? I think someone like him, someone that's quite like him is George, yes, but also somebody like Andy Lee, people like that, like really get their success at the tail end of their career. And I think he's going to be one like that.
One thing that I asked Luke about earlier, it's always striking to me that whenever I speak to him, he does always talk about the Lomachenko fight and wanting to get that rematch, which isn't uncommon, but there's kind of a way in which that he brings it up. It strikes me that he does think about that fight, and he does think about the fact that Lomachenko has one over on him. I asked Luke about the difference of kind of studying him and seeing him through the amateurs and actually getting in the ring on fight night. Obviously you weren't in the ring, but you would have studied him and watched tape, and then you prepared for a fight, prepared a fighter to fight him. What was the biggest difference on the night? What did Lomachenko do, or what was he able to do, if anything, that you weren't prepared for?
He's just very, very good he's so evasive. He's got phenomenal judgment of distance with his feet, but also with the head movement. We can't say we didn't get good sparring, because with Josh Taylor, we had loads of with Alfie Price, with some really good kids come in. But it's always going to be very, very hard to emulate someone like Lomachenko, because he's a small target as well. It's not just his head movement in his distance and stuff. It's actually the fact that he makes himself so small, and his athleticism. He can go in and out of distance just like that. And I've never seen Luke lose distance on people. He's always the guy to keep focus. I mean, no matter, even if it's his first sparring camp, but Luke's so disciplined with his judgment of distance, because he's a straight up boxer. He loves that old school hit and don't get hit. So he's always playing with the distance and always controlling it. But at times he just had no control of the distance. Do you know what I mean? And that was someone. No, for me, I was looking at it thinking, wow, I mean, this guy is just so well schooled, And but yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think he did get hurt throughout that fight. Luke hurt into the body, hurt to the head early as well. He said it in the interviews. He said, yeah, I was hurt a few times. And obviously, Luke was down a few times himself. It was just a brilliant contest. It was just a brilliant contest of skill. It's proper fighters sort of fight. It was a boxing purist fight, is what it would be. Someone that really enjoys the art of it and the skill.
I didn't get to watch it at the time, you may remember.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, moving on. Lawrence Okolie. Lawrence is, as you mentioned, at a different stage of his career to Luke, but he's made a kind of a point of getting on with things throughout his professional career, picking up titles very, very soon in his professional career. He doesn't really strike me as the type of person to enjoy a layoff. Now, is that right, or is that not?
No, because he just spends the peas, bruv, innit? He doesn't. He likes to train. He likes to be active, and he likes the. I think he just likes the routine. But he's bought his own house, and he's done his mum's flat up. So he's had. The thing is about lockdown, no one's enjoyed it really, but it's about how proactive and productive you've been in that time. And I think Lawrence actually was pretty productive. So went a little bit heavy. We won't state the numbers, but he knows. But he's worked hard to get his weight down. And I mean, Lawrence is on the cusp of doing big things. You know, he's only had 14 fights, I think it is, and you know, he's just flew through the division. He's flew through the amateurs to get himself up. I think he had 26 amateur fights, went to the Olympics. He's done everything in fast forward. You know, like, you cannot fault him in terms of his attitude and what he wants to get out of this game. He doesn't want to mess about. He doesn't believe in just hanging back and taking warm-up fights and journeyman fights and stuff like that. He wants to test himself, and he wants the rewards. You know, he's not shy of saying, I want the big bucks, you know. And I think in time he's going to get them, because he's going to be a force when he steps up to heavyweight. He's going to be a force. I know he is. And I mean, he's a massive force now as well, but he is a boiled down heavyweight. He's a guy that's huge. He's got the frame to be not a small heavy, like a big solid guy. And what's good is now he's built an engine in himself to make that weight. He's had to train really, really hard to get himself down to weight. He's been doing that for years, and he built that work ethic. So when he actually is able to move up, he'll have a fantastic engine and punching power, you know. And they're a fraction slower, so when he starts landing, they don't grab and hold. Then, you know, they want to work. He won't be able to hold on the inside. He'll have to work there. It'll be much cleaner boxing. You know, I think because he's so big, he smothers his work a little bit in the cruiserweight division. But you cannot fault his achievements. He's done everything in super quick time, and his attitude is, I want to get to the top. I want to get there fast.
You mentioned the fact that he might not get out until October, November time against Blavatsky to box for the vacant world title. We've always spoken about him moving up to heavyweight. Does the fact that if he's lucky, he gets that one fight in, does that just accelerate him moving up to heavyweight? He's not going to be hanging around too much longer after that?
Well, we want the Goaki fight. Obviously, we want to win it, and then we want either the winner of Bradis versus Dorticus or Gulamarian, the WBA champion as well. So, you know, Lawrence genuinely wants 2 or 3 fights at cruiserweight, and then we want to move up. It could even be 2, because he knows that he's got the beating of some guys up at heavyweight, and he won't start calling out their names. But as soon as he's ready to move, he's going to start making some noise. And look, I've seen him in the gym with these guys. I've seen him spar heavies, and he's really comfortable in there. So I'm excited about it. It's one thing sparring; it's another thing doing it with the small gloves on. But I'm just excited to see the transition, and I know it's going to happen pretty quickly. But as a big physical guy who's 6'6" or just under 6'6", those guys don't hit their physical prime until they're 28, 30 years of age. So it's perfect, the fact that he's making cruiser now, and then as soon as he starts hitting his physical prime, he'll be able to really fuel his body, really allow his body to fill up, develop a little bit more power, and he'll be destructive. So
those are your world champions in waiting, as it were. Still waiting for some information on those guys. Anthony Fowler and Chris BILLAM-SMITH, though, we do have some information on them. I think I'll probably wait until after Friday, where, all being well, hopefully this gets announced to announce it. What can you tell me about Anthony Fowler and Chris BILLAM-SMITH?
They're going to be... Anthony Fowler's going to be on a 10-rounder, and Chris is going to be defending his Commonwealth cruiserweight title. So they're going to both be out on the 8th of August, and it's scheduled that Chris is going to be boxing Nathan Thorley, and Fowler's going to be boxing Adam Harper. So not huge names or anything like that, but they're still live opponents, still guys with winning records, and that's what Eddie can do for us. I mean, it doesn't make much sense for him to put all of his boxers in against really 50-50 slugfest fights that nobody's going to, we know there's going to be good viewership on Sky, but it's not the same as being in front of a live audience, and so I think this sort of level of a fight for us is good. I mean, Nathan Dawley's a bronze medalist at the Commonwealth Games, and he was a light heavyweight, but he's moved up. Should never, I don't think, have been a light heavyweight. He was probably boiling himself down, trained by Gary Lockett. So they'll come with a good game plan, and I think Chris cannot take his eye off the ball. He's going to have to get himself in good shape, try and get as best sparring as we can, and just sort of, we don't know much about him. We don't know what he's really made of, this Nathan Dawley. There's not a lot of footage on him, but I think the fact that he'll be competing at cruiserweight for the second time, I think he'll probably be quite energetic and fresh, because he'll be able to fully fuel himself for the training and stuff. And I think it'll be a good fight. So it's gonna be weird not fighting with an atmosphere, but it's kind of just like a gym bout. It's like sparring, but with the small gloves on, and that's what it's like anyway. That's what boxing's like. That's all it is, really. When the sound nullifies and you just go into it is combat with small gloves, and it's just like sparring. So the sound of the punches will be different. It's going to be different for the corner work, saying their opinions and stepping off, move, do this, do that, and the other fighter will be able to hear it a little bit. So it's going to be a new experience for all involved. But I think Fowler as well. He's got Adam Harper. I think he's only got one loss on his record. Come forward pressure fighter. So we'll see. We'll see what he's like. I think that'll either be at 154, about 156 or something. So maybe just 2 pounds over light middle. But we're in training, and we've got some good sparring tomorrow. So for him. So all guns blazing. It's only my second fight with Anthony, but he's really progressed. He's taken to the gym well. He's hard to understand, but no, he's a great guy, and good personality. Serious on social media. It's not the real AF. He's busy on that, but he's a top guy, and he's a very underrated fighter. I really believe. Give me a little bit of time to work with him, and for him to settle in and start speeding some things up with his feet and stuff. But he's got fantastic timing, very heavy hands. Everyone's going to be waiting out on the Scott Fitzgerald fight, but it's looking more and more unlikely like that's going to happen. But his career shouldn't be and won't be defined by Scott Fitzgerald. There's some huge fights out there, and I believe he'll go on to fight and win world titles.
Let's just touch upon that, the Scott Fitzgerald fight. It's no secret that he hit the headlines throughout lockdown, during lockdown, should I say. Yeah. We've heard today that he's allegedly in prison at the minute. What can you say about that, and how big of a shame is it? I mean, obviously the fact that you train Anthony Fowler, who's a big rival of Scott Fitzgerald, but you are a boxing man of boxing stock, so to speak.
No, I want to see
seeing somebody like that throw it away, seemingly.
Listen, I want to see boxers do well no matter what, and in the past I've got involved in rivalries and stuff with my fighters and stuff, and I realise now that there's so many good people involved in boxing, and there's so many good fighters out there, like nice people. I would never wish someone for their career to be wasted away if he's inside. I hope he can get himself on the straight and narrow, but you've got to take responsibility for your own life. If you've got talent, you've got to utilise it and use it, and that's just the be all and end all, really. I mean, I really hope he can get himself on the straight and narrow. But as mentioned, there's some fantastic fights out there for Anthony Fowler. Yeah, he's hit the headlines. He's very vocal and stuff. Gets himself drawn into situations that he doesn't need to get drawn into, because he likes to have his opinion sometimes. But he's as honest as they come. He tells you to your face what he thinks, and he's a complete straight shooter. So I've got a lot of time and I've got a lot of respect for him, and I think he's entertaining. He draws up a lot. Draws up a lot of attention and a lot of hype. So that Fitzgerald fight got so many people that I think he sold over £30,000 worth of tickets. He's done brilliant on ticket sales, and that was just him personally. There's lots of people out there that know who Anthony Fowler is, and there's a lot of people that know who Scott Fitzgerald is because of Anthony Fowler, because the two of them have drawn up attention. But he'll continue to do that. He will continue to do that throughout his career.
We also saw over lockdown Ahara Davies' name mentioned as a potential fight for Anthony Fowler. Ammo Williams was another one that had a bit of a back and forth with Fowler. Were either of those fights ever brought to you by Eddie Hearn?
No, because Ahara Davies, we know what he's about. You know what I mean? Like, he likes to make noise. He's a 140 pounder. So that's never going to happen, because what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Just what's the point? It's just two guys saying their opinion. That, if you wanted to do it, just do it as a sparring session. Quite easy to set up. Ammo Williams, on the other hand, is, I saw what he put up, and you just don't do that. You don't put up footage of battering a novice, But that's not to say that he's not a good fighter. He's a good fighter, but massively unproven, and I think in time that fight can definitely be made. But once again, it's about making sure that it's at the right time for both of their careers, and like Fowler will fight anyone. He's just game, but it's up to me to look after and direct his career and make sure that we focus on him getting better. That's the most important thing, is that he's getting better, and don't let other negative people come in and try and draw your attention away from the process. And the process is keep working yourself, keep getting better, keep beating the people that's put in front of you. The big fights will come, and if those people have an opinion like Ammo Williams or Ahara Davies will never do that. But someone like Ammo Williams, if he does end up getting up to that top level as well, then they'll meet, and that's how it's. And then it'll be brilliant, because the grudge match will be built over time. So yeah, we'll just look. I just want to see him. I want to see him move on from domestic level. After this fight, I want to see him move on from that and go up to European sort of standard, and then on the cusp of what we want to start fighting guys in the top 15 in the world at 154 pounds. And there's still a lot of work for me to do fundamentally, but he's improving all the time, and I really believe he's got so much potential, and that's going to be unravelled in the next year or two. Come here.
Keeping an eye on Titan before he runs away with his new friend. Final thing on all things McGuigan's gym rather. It was nice to see Barry today. Your father, Big Baz, Barry McGuigan. Big Baz. Well, he's not that big.
5'6" Baz.
5'6" Baz. Nice to see him today. He's the one constant throughout the gym. Whether you were at your old gym, whether you'd gone to Wandsworth or Kent or here, he's here. He's still soaking it up and loving life every day. How is he? And obviously, how is it having him still working alongside you and working with fighters?
It's brilliant. It will never change. It will never change. That has been the most valuable asset that I've had in my whole entire career in boxing. Whether it was from the amateurs, whether it was to the pros, coaching people, his words of advice are easily, taken for granted, because people, the more you hang around somebody, the more you take them for granted, and I do it. I take him for granted far too much, and it frustrates me sometimes as I walk away and I don't listen to him enough, because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And these old timers like him, like Eubank, and those guys of that era, they've seen boxing transcend, have peaks and up and down, and they've been steady. They've been the faces of boxing the whole way through. So yeah, I love having him around the gym. He's been a brilliant person towards me in terms of continually keeping my feet on the ground and giving me advice and giving me feedback. And just constantly helping my boxers out all the time. He's always there to give them support, and I'm glad that Luke's around, and CBS and Fowler, and Lawrence as well. They all appreciate his time. So that means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Because he's the person that I value the most in this game, and I think there's been some bad publicity about him, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Nobody knows. Nobody understands what the time and effort that he puts into these people, and don't believe everything that you read or Chinese whispers. That's the shit that pisses me off. But it's all right. In time, it'll all come out.
Moving away to some AOB. Any other business before I let you go? AOB. What are we? 40-something minutes in. That's fine. Mike Tyson. Now, I'm sure you have a very, very good reason why Mike Tyson shouldn't be coming back to professional boxing. Let me hear it.
Because he's too old. I don't know. I mean, if he does an exhibition, I'm okay. I mean, look, doesn't give a shit what I think. I would, as a fan of his, I wouldn't be too disheartened. But I just think his last fight, Kevin McBride, that was embarrassing. I know he says his head wasn't there and he wasn't trained properly and stuff like that. But that was a long, long time ago. I mean, Kevin McBride has cloned us. He's no athlete no more. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't. And he was much more in his prime than Mike Tyson was at that stage. And we're now another 15 years on or whatever it is. Probably about right. 2005 it would have been. Was it? Yeah. So we're still a long way on. And I know the best thing about it is he was overweight, trained himself, and he's got himself in good shape. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's another Nigel Benn sort of thing where he'll get himself in good shape and there'll be an injury or something will happen, and I think that's just the boxing gods looking down and thinking, that's it, lad. That's it. So it's really sad to see these guys go on too long, but I don't understand what goes on inside their head at night when the lights go off and they start thinking. But you saw Roy Jones Jr. completely sabotage his amazing career because he let himself get old. Tyson's had a complete break and he's come back and he might feel fresh-minded, but as soon as he starts getting hit by anyone half decent, he's going to realise his reflexes aren't there and his power's diminished, and and it's probably his durability's gone down as well. So he's a phenomenal athlete, but I just hope he doesn't do it. So, and also I've seen Van der Holyfield hit the bag and stuff. His body just looks like it's not able to do it no more. So unless they had an exhibition together, then that would be not even good to watch, but it would be sort of more of a level playing field.
What is it about that? Because we kind of spoke to Baz when we was in the gym and said, did you have offers to come back? And he said that he did, but he chose not to for various different reasons. What is it about boxing fighters and boxers that they can't always say no? It's the thrill of it, or what is it?
Dad told me that fighters are the first to know that they're done, but they're the last to admit it to themselves. So, and that is pretty true. They know when they're not quite there. Like that. It's a sad thing. But whether it's money or fame, it's one or the other. A lot of fighters don't have the sensible heads. They don't invest their money. They go from 0 to 100. They go from earning nothing to earning loads of money. They don't know how to manage it. They start buying stuff that just goes so down in value, and they lose all their money overnight. And then they think, how do I get that money back? I'll keep fighting because that's how I got it originally. And then it's far too late, and they're fighting for pennies, and they're just in a downward spiral. So. And then the other side of it is fame and its relevance. Someone like Nigel Benn, he didn't need any money. I know he's invested it really well, and but he did it because he loves the sport, he loves the combat, and he also likes the attention that it draws. and that that's another side of it, which is quite tough. Do you remember the Frank Bruno when he used to come out of retirement every other week, and it was sad to see it, and I know that Mike Tyson's got the podcast that he's doing. He's obviously doing some good stuff, but there's always going to be a gap in those mega famous people that will, like the Mayweathers or the Tysons, or those big time guys that will be boxing. It will be just that gap, that void that can't be filled by anything, unless you probably jump out of a plane. It's probably the only adrenaline thing that can come close to it, and you talk about Froch as well. Froch likes to talk about boxing and comebacks and stuff, because it obviously it's their pride and stuff, and I understand it, but most of them get in there, they go into an amateur gym to win belts, and a lot of those names that we talk about have all won belts, and then it becomes okay after belts. It's like, oh, money. This is great. This is brilliant. I can make loads of money because you're a superstar, and that's just the unfortunate downward spiral. It's people just get carried away with it all.
Okay, before I let you go,
yeah,
big announcement a couple of weeks ago: Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Well, agree. Maybe you can help me as somebody who, a boxing insider, so to speak. Educate my my simple mind, as it were. A deal was done, or financial deal was done, or an agreement was made to make the fight. What do you think about that?
I don't know what that entails. I mean, it's quite easy to do a deal. It's like, all right, it's 50-50 for the first fight, and then the second fight it's 60-40 to the winner of the first fight. Deal's done. Okay, agreed. Let's do that. What should we do it after let's do it after I fight Pulev and you fight what? Sweet. That's probably what happened. Location. Well, I don't know. Well, we'll think about that closer to the time. Okay, cool. TV. Let's think about that closer to the time. Because if you actually look at Sky and BT, none of them gave up the rights to say, oh, Sky's going to take this one, or BT's going to take it. I know that it's such a big fight that these big networks should come to an agreement, like Pacquiao versus Mayweather, and they broadcast it on both platforms and stuff like that can happen. I don't think it would be that hard to do a deal. I mean, the issue the issue that boxing will have is when people don't want the fight. And I think someone like Wilder and AJ had a big ego clash because Al Heyman and Eddie Hearn didn't want to work together, and now you got Frank and Eddie, that they will come to an agreement. I don't think they like each other, but I'm sure they'll come to an agreement because they know it makes some decent business sense.
As far as the fight goes, it seems like universally, maybe not universally, the vast majority of people seem to favour Tyson Fury in the fight. You've told me previously that you actually fancy Anthony Joshua to win the fight. Tell us about that.
I don't necessarily think that he's going to win it. I think he's got a much... Well, I'm not really... There's pros and cons to both guys. Fury looks like he's punching harder recently. But he's a really good mover. He gets success from that, being the bigger guy. But Tyson Fury is a combination puncher. Anthony Joshua is a combination puncher, and that's something that Deontay Wilder isn't. Deontay Wilder is a big single shot puncher. You got someone like Fury who's good at evading those singles. Whereas you see him get put under pressure, even by Otto Wallen, when he throws combinations together. He's got good head movement and stuff, but he is still getting hit and he's still getting pressurised, and he's sitting on the ropes too long and stuff like that. So I just think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. I can't really say. I don't think because of Fury's last fight you can just say, oh, it's a write-off. AJ's not going to win this one. I mean, you got to look at the statistics, and you got to look at who AJ's boxed, and he's been beating some good guys, and he's been finishing them in fashion. Yeah, he came unstuck against Andy Ruiz, but he got hit with a brilliant shot. Wasn't his best night, and he came back and rebuilt. So yeah, I think there's an argument for both guys. I don't think it's a 80% favoured. You know, like you should 80%. The bookies should be favouring one person. I think it's still a 50-50 fight, and anything can happen until then. You know, so that's my take on it. I've really sat on the fence, but you know, I don't know. I don't really want to go and say my opinion, because there's so much that rides on those fights. Pressure, you know, the build up, who can deal with all of the other things that go on, the fight week, you know, like, and the Furies have been proven to done really well previously. Tyson Fury, like when he went out and everything was on Vladimir Klitschko's terms, like the canvas and everything, and that was his dad, but it was also Peter Fury. So, you know, they stood their ground, and they put up a great fight before he even got in the ring, and they did the right things. But it's down, you know, how is he also going to deal with it being in the UK? It should be in the UK, and if it isn't, it'll be very disappointing. If it is in the UK, how's he going to deal with a lot of the press, you know, on the fight week? And he said some outrageous stuff in the past, and you know, media and stuff. It's time consuming, you know, and then just the hype around everything. So, and that goes for both people, you know. So they're both massive figures in boxing. They're both under a lot of scrutiny. You know, AJ says that stuff, that Black Lives Matter stuff, and he's just hounded. You know, you got Tyson Fury saying stuff in the past, and he's hounded. So, you know, like credit for them to put it on, but we still haven't. There's been terms agreed, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong before that, and I don't think it'll be that easy.
You mentioned it should be in the UK. Do you think it will be?
If it isn't, it's a farce. Why would you take it to Dubai or something like that? It just doesn't make any sense. You know, like, it's the first time that you got two world heavyweight champions from the UK. You should let them box in the UK. You know why? The whole point about boxing is that it's in the best position it's been in for UK boxers in generations. Do you know what I mean? It's in a fantastic position. We hold most of the power. You know, big time boxing was always in America, but now big time boxing is in the UK. That is down to Anthony Joshua and Matchroom. They've done a fantastic job building that guy and bringing big time boxing back to the UK. And now Eddie Hearn has the control of Garcia. He's got the control of a lot of Golovkin. You know, he has the TV rights where Saul Alvarez. You know, he has control of a lot of things, and you know, he's the man that should be putting that show on, and it should be in the UK.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that. We are, I don't know how long into the interview. We've rambled, but we always do. It's been nice to catch up.
I'm just trying to get a tan. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, I caught up with you in lockdown when we did the Zoom, which was really, really difficult to get hold of you, but let's just ignore that. Yeah. You actually looked like you caught a little bit of sun then.
Probably. I was probably sunburned.
You were cycling a lot.
Oh yeah, I was cycling, yeah. Yeah, those days they're gone because back working. Can't go out on the bike for 3 hours. No, I do love a bit of cycling. It's a fantastic sport. Low impact, especially when you got a bit heavier, like I have. Yeah, running's did a half marathon in lockdown, and I've done about 3 runs since it because my calf's gone. Not during, it was actually the first run afterwards. I did about 10k and I was like, oh, that felt a bit weird. And then I just haven't recovered. I've stayed hit. So, but yeah, it's just life.
Well, you look well, mate. And I like the new hairstyle. The Jake Gyllenhaal mop looks good.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Might stay for a bit. You got your hair on upside down.
I've got a big bushy beard and a big bushy haircut.
Big bushy beard.
A great big bushy beard. Shane McGUIGAN, nobody wants to hear this. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. As always, real pleasure. Thanks for having us down the gym today for some socially distanced fun.
Thanks, mate.
Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you, and thank you to the guy that's lent us these chairs. He's been waiting to go for the last half an hour. I feel really bad for him, but I think us rambling's not helping the occasion. So, thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate. He's a huge boxing fan.
He's not. Absolutely not. He has no idea.